It's an invitation to release the past in order to cultivate a different reality than the painful one that currently dominates the globe.
You are listening to Climate of Joy, the podcast where we talk about climate change and consciousness in light of what quantum science is telling us about reality and the dramatic opportunity for healing that the climate emergency offers. I'm Christine Penner-Polly, a self-described climate crone who is a Canadian mom of two, three if you count Jemmy, my little Frenchie Spaniel cross. I'm an author, a speaker, and an energy intuitive specializing in loosening the invisible knots that keep us stuck in unhealthy patterns at both the personal and collective level. This podcast is being recorded on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lekwungen peoples and the Esquimalt, Songhees, and Wasanich First Nations. Recognition and respect for these people's past, present, and future presence and caretaking of this land is essential to reconciliation. As a settler, I want to honor and thank the original peoples of this territory and also recognize that my presence here is the result of European colonization, which has had devastating impacts for the original people of this territory and right across Turtle Island. I especially want to note that because this is being posted on September 30th, here in Canada, September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It's a day that honors those children who never returned home and all survivors of residential schools, as well as their families and communities.
It's been a while since I posted a podcast on Climate of Joy, but there's been so much going on the climate front. And on the personal front for me, I also was away in August, and then I got COVID for the first time when I got home, and that laid me low for about 2 weeks. I'm mostly recovered now. So there's been a lot going on the climate front, as I mentioned. And I'm just going to highlight some good climate news before we jump into today's topic, which is I'm going to read an excerpt from my upcoming book, Climate of Joy, A Healing Path Through the Climate Emergency. But let's talk about some good climate news. So a day-long climate ambition summit just wrapped up. It was hosted by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and basically it's the final 2-month stretch before the COP28 climate negotiations in Dubai. And that's going to be focused on phasing out fossil fuels, tripling renewable energy production, and hopefully delivering climate finance to developing countries. So, to quote Antonio Guterres, the move from fossil fuels to renewables is happening, but we are decades behind. We must make up time lost to foot dragging, arm twisting, and the naked greed of entrenched interests raking in billions from fossil fuels. So that's a very strong statement. Thank you, Secretary General Guterres. In the course of that summit, countries like Spain, Chile, Germany, Colombia, and the US state of California pointed to fossil fuel extraction as the main obstacle to getting the climate emergency under control, with some of them calling for COP28 to agree on a fossil fuel phase out. So that's some good news. Some other good news, and I would encourage you to follow, if you're on Instagram, a climate scientist and climate activist called Elena Wood, and her handle is the Garbage Queen. And she has regular weekly posts about good climate news. So these are culled from some of her good climate news. She had more. So there's a human rights trial that's starting today in Europe, and it's 6 Portuguese young adults and children who are challenging 32 governments' lack of action on climate change. So stay tuned for that. Also, an offshore wind farm that will be able to generate enough power to power 500,000 homes has been approved off the coast of North Wales. And like I said, follow her for more good climate news. And now we're going to jump into today's topic, which is Climate of Joy, a healing path through the climate emergency. And I'm going to, over the next little while, I'm going to read some sample chapters on this podcast. So we're going to start today with the introduction called An Invitation. We are living in incredible times. Humanity is standing on the precipice of a whole new way of being on the planet. We, the nearly 8 billion people on the planet today, get to cast the deciding votes on whether this is a threshold into a thriving world of peace, cooperation, and health, or a gateway into increasing chaos, conflict, and planetary toxicity. That's just a wee bit of pressure, isn't it? What is a person to do in unprecedented times like these? It's tempting to look away from all that unsettles us or numb ourselves to the deluge of disturbing news that permeates social and other media, and many people do. You may be one of the courageous souls who can't avert your eyes or your heart, but who still struggles to make sense of and live coherently in a world gone mad. This book holds an invitation to you. The invitation that Climate of Joy extends is a call to join me and others on the frontier where environmental disaster and quantum consciousness meet. It's an invitation to release the past in order to cultivate a different reality than the painful one that currently dominates the globe. Because the findings of quantum physics suggest that we have the power to do just that. The same system of thinking which has brought us to the brink of global disaster has taught us not to trust our sixth sense, as intuition is often called. It is only our five senses, we are told, that can give us information about the world. Quantum physics, however, is telling us that what we see and touch isn't all there is to reality. It suggests that the world of the five senses is the superficial surface of things. In the quantum world, we are not solid matter, we are vibrating energy. And consciousness, our consciousness, has an impact on reality. Human consciousness over millennia has created the world we are experiencing with its chaos and dysfunction. Climate of Joy offers tools to shift not only our own consciousness, but to heal the web of pain and trauma of the past that has ensnared our positive future. My dearest hope is that you will take up this invitation, not because it is easy or comfortable, but because deep in your soul, you know that is what you came to this planet to do. And that is the conclusion of that chapter. The next chapter I'm going to post is going to be Earth Calling from, again, Climate of Joy, a healing path through the climate emergency.
That's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you are ready for more peace in your life, even in the climate emergency, head over to climateofjoy.com to grab your free copy of Tap into Peace. Till next time, be kind to each other. Remember, we are all just walking each other home.